Well, long time no see. I'd like to welcome you finally to my new shop. All right, here you have it, my brand new to me shop. It's 24 feet by 24 feet, and I could not be happier with the amount of space I have. I could literally spin around. I could probably do a cartwheel if I really wanted to, but I'm probably not going to do that because I don't want to break my wrists or my neck. But going from a single car garage with my workbench on one side, my 3D printing table in the back, and having all my motorcycles here on the side. I mean, I'll show some pictures, but there were times where I had like a foot on either side of me when I was working on a project. And to go from that to a dedicated garage attached to the house, and now my detached shop out here in the backyard, I mean, this is just phenomenal. I can't wait to show you guys around. So like I said, I'll give you guys a brief overview of the building itself. So it is 24 feet by 24 feet by 8 feet high. Now, as you can kind of see in the background, the guy who owned this place previously had put in some 4-inch thick insulating foam boards. And that helps separate like the attic space from the working space to try and keep the humidity or the heat out of in here. So honestly, sometimes I've come out into the shop when it's been high humidity or cold or something like that, and I've come in here and it's been quite comfortable, and I think that's partially because of the insulation boards up top, but also because I went around and insulated and drywalled the entire space. So now we have to worry about how I got everything down here, because I'm traveling about 800, 900 miles to get from where I was to where I am now, and I've got 7 years of crap that I need to get down to where I currently am. So when I started to pack everything into the U-Haul, and mind you, I got the largest possible U-Haul that I could. When I was packing everything up, we started to realize, hey, we're not gonna have a whole lot of room if we're gonna pack all the house stuff in here. You know, what are we gonna do with the motorcycles? And at the time, the truck wasn't super reliable, and I wasn't comfortable towing the motorcycles down, because it was also this weird thing where I had to get everything down here, but I couldn't get both of my vehicles down here, and I couldn't move into the house for 2 weeks, so there was this really weird, awkward part in there. And long story short, what we wound up doing, and I'll show a picture here, was building a platform inside of the U-Haul in order to store stuff on top of it. And I had to kind of catty corner the motorcycles back and forth in order to get all 4 of them to fit under that. And if I couldn't have done that, I don't know what I would have done in order to get all the stuff down here. I didn't really want to ride the bikes down because it was such a far trip. And really the only ones that I could have ridden down would have been the Suzuki, the Concours. I probably wouldn't have wanted to ridden the 500, the Kawasaki 500 this far. It just would have been a nightmare, you know, vibrating my hands off. It would have been awful. So I finally got everything down here in the U-Haul, and then over the next 2 days, unloaded everything into only one half of the shop. The guy that was moving out of here had some of his vehicles on the one side. I'm not really entirely sure why he didn't take that stuff out, but I'll show a video, I'm showing it now, but basically had to just store all of my stuff from that U-Haul into this half of the shop. There was some stuff that I was able to put in the shed out back, and then obviously I kind of just parked my car around back because then I had to go off and do things for 2 weeks while I wasn't able to move in, but that was a little bit more than I think I bargained for in terms of just where I was going to put all the stuff. It was really difficult to get everything to fit on just one half of this shop. So now I'm finally down here. I've started to get some of my things out of the shop, get it into the house. I've got some space. You can see there was no drywall, no insulation. The wiring was not done the best, so I kind of had to redo some of the wiring in the walls. It just either was loosely wires twisted together with some electrical tape around it. It was a mess. I don't want to talk about it. But started to get some of the stuff inside, got stuff out of here. Went to Home Depot, got another toolbox because I'm like, I have all these tools and now I don't have like a basement to store them in. I didn't want to put up, you know, these shelves that you see here in the background. At my last place, I just had the wall full of shelves, and I didn't really want to do that because I wanted to keep some vertical space available. And then I wound up putting cabinets in the entire other side of the wall, but we'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, so I went and got a new toolbox from Home Depot. Love that thing. I happened to get like a price markdown error cost thing on it, so that was awesome. and then started to spread my things out and go through boxes and get things ready to try and set up the shop. Now we start getting ready to install this guy right here. I'll link to the one that I used specifically off Amazon in the description, but it's a Senville 18,000 BTU 240 volt mini split. It does an incredible job. Cooling, heating, dehumidifying. I can come out here and turn it on, and within 30 minutes it's totally comfortable to work out here. I can even turn it on with an app from being inside, or I'm on my way home from work and I'm like, oh, I want to work in the shop, I'm going to cool it down or heat it up. It makes things great. So once this guy showed up on a pallet, I had to kind of figure out, hey, what am I doing? You know, I need insulation, I need drywall. I went to Lowe's. I probably spent $2,000 to $3,000 on just getting everything ready, you know, wiring, any of the plumbing things, getting stuff through the wall, having everything ready so that I could have drywall and insulation on these two panels so that when I mounted it, I didn't have to take this back down to do any extra work. So it was a lot of planning, a lot of help from family who was really good at this kind of thing, and then just execution. So I think over the holiday, we probably spent 5 or 6 days just out here doing electrical, doing the insulation, well, redoing electrical, doing insulation, getting things ready and just planning where everything was going to go and making sure that this was going to go flawlessly so that then I could start working out here while it was cold in the winter and getting everything else buttoned up. So now I've got this guy up with his two panels. I'm working on everything else, and it's, you know, family has left, they've gone home, and it's just taking a lot longer than expected to get the drywall panels up, to get the insulation put in. I'm just kind of working on this as one person, so it was a little bit difficult. I did eventually have someone help me out a little bit, you know, knocked it out in a couple days, but it's like probably getting close to March time frame. Remember, this got installed in December, early January, and now it's March, and it kind of was difficult because I brought all the stuff in order to get drywall panels around and install them up. And then as I worked on different areas, I'd have to push things back so that I could shift everything another direction and get all my panels up. So it was just working real slow in pieces, working my way around. Finally, after a lot of work and a lot of time, I got all the drywall panels up, got everything screwed in, and then kind of went, okay, I'm done. I want to use the shop. I want to finally, you know, get some floor space back, be able to work on things, and I want to be able to use it for what it is, right? So that's around March. April goes by, May goes by. I kind of still haven't done a whole lot of clearing space on the floor and getting things up against the wall. Hadn't installed any cabinets yet. So I'm really coming out here like every other night and just trying to clean things up. And it was taking so long to get to a point where I was like, oh, okay, everything's clean, I can now do stuff. And if I was to do it all over again, I would have probably gotten things out of the way first, worked on some projects, and then as time went on, started putting things on shelves, because it was just getting frustrating. I'd have to come out here after work, start putting things away. Trying to organize everything all at once was just so difficult, and it really sucked the enjoyment out of this project, and I kind of put it on the back burner a little bit. Like I said, fast forward to April, May, and we decided that we were going to do a project in the downstairs bathroom. Well, that was going to require doing some painting, that was going to require doing some spackling, and I've done that in the past, but I've kind of done it with family around, so someone who's done it before, right, where you can say, is this the right way, is this how I do it? Well, they're not around to help out, so I said, why don't we get, you know, some little test things, and we'll come out here in the shop, and we'll test spackling, we'll test maybe some mudding, and we can even practice our painting and just see how it goes. So at that point, that's when I kind of went, okay, now I want to paint this thing. I would really love it for, you know, no screw holes, because there was like 1,000 screw holes. No screw holes, I didn't want to see the joints. I wanted to have it in a position where I could walk out here and be like, this looks pretty legit. Minus the pink ceilings, but this looks pretty legit out here. So after getting all of the drywall panels up and going to Home Depot, grabbing a cheap color of paint, I was like, shops are gray, let's do gray. I painted the whole thing and it was just a little bit too dark. I mean, I would come out here and I would be like, wow, I feel like it's nighttime and it's 3 in the afternoon and the sun is shining. So I kind of scratched the idea of having it all one color. Now you see it's this awesome two-tone with the pinstripe down the middle. And that red is actually called 100 mile an hour red. And once I saw the name of that paint, I was like, I'm done. That's the paint that I want. So I set up my laser level, drew a line across the bottom, put up some painter's tape, then drew a line across the top, put up some painter's tape, went around, painted the stripe. Everything looked great. The lighter two-tone on the top just makes it so much brighter in here, and I think it really tied the space together. Once I got all of that done, I kind of started noticing that I was having a little bit more water issues than I expected. When I first moved in, I had noticed a couple times it rained really hard, and the rain is coming at the garage door, and it would sneak up under the corner. I didn't mention this before, but I actually did have to do some caulking around the one edge and then put like a lacquer kind of substance on some of the OSB on the outside because it was rotting through. Hopefully that's held up for now. And I also routed through an Ethernet line that I ran out here when we were running the power. And I just have it laying up in the attic. At some point I might add an access point out here, or who knows what kind of equipment I run out here that maybe I just need higher speed internet. The router only goes so far. Sometimes I'm in here, sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, I digress. Had to do some water issues. It still happens from time to time, but I throw towels down and I have a fan that blows. After getting all the painting done, I decided I wanted to install some cabinets. I'll link these into the description. I really, really like these. I love this rail mount system that they attach on, so I didn't have to worry about, let's put one cabinet up and then worry about, is it level, is it not level, put the next one up next to it, is it level, is it not? You could pretty much install the rail, make sure that the rail is level, and then hang those cabinets on, and it makes the job so much easier. I think it was something like $100 for an individual cabinet, and it came with the rail mounting. So I got 8 up here. It was probably somewhere close, $700 or $800, but well spent, really worth it just for the ease of installation. I would highly, highly recommend these if you're working on or thinking on doing shelves in your shop. I kind of didn't know, do I want deeper shelves, but then they would be a little bit shallower, a little bit shorter. I went back and forth on that, and I was like, you know what? This space is just going to be for working on things. Why don't I just go for the tall space? I'll leave like 5 or 6 inches up at top in case I want to put paperwork or something up there, something not important. So I went ahead and went with the taller but not so deep ones, and I think it worked out totally fine. Plus, they were pretty much the same color as the shop, so that's an added bonus, and like I said, super recommend throwing these in here. So while I was doing some of the wiring, before I got all the drywall up also, I upgraded the light bulbs because the lighting that was in here before was fluorescent. It would take forever to come up, so I just put no ballast LED bulbs in here. I think they work great. I may add another strip of them, but for now I think it works fine. I also added some lighting into the attic because I knew if I was going to go up there, I don't really want to be lugging a flashlight up and down or have to worry about, where can I put it if I'm going to install something up in there. And that lighting just, again, makes it super easy. Flick on a switch, nice and bright up there. So somewhere along the line, I also picked up 2 more toolboxes. These ones are from Harbor Freight. My father kind of had a design where he had 2 tool chests together and then put a sacrificial surface on top. I thought that was a great idea, and I had kind of decided that this side of the shop would be kind of where that like staging, prepping, maybe work on a couple things, not on the bench area. You got to have multiple workspaces because you just run out no matter what. You could say, I'm going to clean my workspace and have it ready to go for another project, but if you're working on more than one project, or sometimes things just become a dumping ground, I just wanted multiple spaces to work on. So I picked these 2 up from Harbor Freight. They had some coupons. It was a great deal. I kind of get laughed at sometimes because I'll come home and have another toolbox, and it's like, you bought another toolbox? And it's like, yes, but I swear there's a reason for it. So I still have to get the sacrificial surface for this. I've kind of been putting that project off on the side for right now, but again, can't complain about tool space. And then I went out and bought 2 more tool cabinets. These were like a flash deal on Lowe's. They're Craftsman tool chests. And I was like, I need a space to work on my electronics, or if at some point I get back into my amateur radio things, this is probably where I would put my radio bench. So this will be like power supplies, voltmeters. I've got a small computer out here for being able to Google things, because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm working on something and trying to work on my cell phone, my hands are greasy, I can't read the screen, it's not easy to flip back and forth between tabs. So I was like, let's just get something out here, and that way it's a little bit easier when I'm working. Now, I tried for a very long time to find a wooden laminate countertop, and I guess they've just gone away because everyone is trying to get granite or concrete or whatever looking laminate countertops. So I just got some particle board and then got contact paper that looks like wood, smacked that on there, put a backsplash on the back of it, again, same contact paper, and it works fantastic. I screwed it down to the toolboxes. I could stand on the middle of that and it wouldn't bend or warp or anything. So overall, really happy with how this space turned out. If it winds up being too big, it's really not that hard to cut it down and move those toolboxes in. This top was really only like 40 bucks to put it all together when all was said and done. So it's a pretty good deal. But now I've got my dedicated electronics space, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. So I know it's a little bit messy back here, but I did want to keep some space open and available for if I wanted to add some larger pieces of equipment. You know, drill press, lathe, mill. I put a 240 volt plug over here. I put two over here. I put a 30 amp 240 volt plug in over here. And I was like, if I want to go big and get a Bridgeport mill or an old lathe or something like that, I at least want the ability to use it in a different space and not need to have it all in one section of the shop. So that flexibility is great. Really, really happy with the amount of outlets that we added extra in here. It's made it so that I don't have to worry about running power strips all over the place. I'm glad I did that at the beginning, spent extra $100 on the wire and the plugs and everything else, but having the option to eventually open the space up for some of those larger tools is going to be great. So there is some room for expansion over here for some of that bigger equipment, and I'm all ready for it. So although it's a little bit messy right now, this was a tool that I definitely wanted to touch on, just from the amount of use I'm going to get out of it, as well as sentimental value that I have towards it. This is my father's Radial Arm Saw. It's an old Craftsman Radial Arm Saw. It was one of the first tools that he purchased when he eventually, I think, moved into an apartment. He actually had it, they didn't have any money for furniture or anything, so he just put it in a separate bedroom. And my mom is like, why do we have a room dedicated to a radial arm saw? And my dad's like, well, my dad had one and I want one. And so when my dad was moving, he was like, I'm not going to use it anymore. I've got a miter saw. I don't use it all that much. And I was like, I've got to at least set it up, say that it went down through 2 generations. It's in great condition. He's got all the extra safety features on there. I'm not going to be using it to rip boards. It's primarily just going to be cross cuts, maybe some dados for lap joints or something simple like that, but I'm not going to go too crazy with it. But I did just want to highlight that this is going to be kind of like a centerpiece of the shop over here in this area. Like I said before, this is the biggest garage I've ever owned. It took a while, it took really until just a couple months ago that I finally got an actual vehicle in here. I had to work on the truck. I had to do some exhaust repair out here, and I just said, I'm pushing things up against the walls, and I'm finally going to be able to work on one of my cars in my garage for the first time ever. In the single car garages I've had in the past, it was never feasible to have my workbenches and my 3D printing and my motorcycles, like I said before, it just wasn't going to work out. Now that I've got the dedicated space, it's incredible to be able to say, oh yeah, I'll just pull the car in, and then I've got 5 feet on either side that I can work on. The truck is a little long, so it's difficult to get in the front and the back, but on the sides, it's totally fine. And when I clean up this space on the one side, I'm going to have even an extra 10 feet on this side. 24 feet by 24 feet is simply more space than I think I know what to do with. Now, I'm going to regret that because I can guarantee you I'd say, well, what if it was 30 by 30? Or what if it was 35 by 35? Now, who knows? Maybe I'll get a bigger shed in the future. I can get some of this stuff out there, or expand the shop, or I move and I get a place with a bigger shop. You never know what the future's going to hold. But I was very excited to finally get not only the truck, but the Caprice in the shop, and it was just so satisfying to be able to say, I'm finally using the shop for what it was originally intended. So something, I don't remember if I highlighted this, that I wanted to touch on was the timing around all this, right? We move in November, family is here in December, out here during the holidays, installing the mini split, getting the insulation, doing the drywall. I tried doing a lot in a short amount of time. And looking back on it, yes, it was helpful that I was able to use everyone to kind of speed things up, but I think I probably should have stopped and smelled the roses a little bit. Brand new area, brand new people, trying to get used to the new environment, get used to the new job, get used to the house, right? There's going to be things that come up with the house that take priority. And never want to make it so that all of your free time is spent just getting things ready to use and not use it. So it took like a year to get the vehicles in here to finally work on them because I was trying to get to the perfect state with the shop. I wanted the cabinets up, I wanted stuff off the floors, I wanted picture perfect everything out from nothing on the floor, you know? And I think I got so caught up in that I forgot to actually use and enjoy the space. So if I could go back and do it again, I would definitely do it a little bit differently, and I would stop trying to, you know, let's get it done. We got to go quick. We got to get things finished up, and I would just enjoy it a little bit more, take my time, and not stress out so much over all of it. So anyway, that's the shop. I wanted to give you guys a background on the projects that I've done out here, what took so long, what gave me headaches, where I would like to take projects in the future, you know, new equipment like mill, lathe, drill press, things like that, but also just highlighting that it's a shop, right? It can have tools all over the place. Not everything needs to have an outlined location on the wall. I see some of those shops online on YouTube and I'm like, I don't know how they keep it that clean. They must have a 100-foot by 100-foot building and they can just afford to put anything wherever they want. You know, where I am now, I don't have a basement. I don't have the greatest attic space for storing stuff, so I'm kind of trying to find a happy balance of we'll leave some stuff out here, maybe leave it a little bit messy, move stuff into the garage, put some things in the crawl space, trying to find a happy balance for all of that. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this update. I'm really, really excited to take advantage of this space. You know, I'm thinking work on a jet ski, get a new truck, finish up the Honda Nighthawk, sell some of my older motorcycles, get some new motorcycles. The sky's the limit. Now I'm finally in a place where I've got my shop, I've got my tools, I've got my space. It's set up almost exactly how I want it, and now I can just take advantage of it and relax a little bit. Start working on those projects, crank out some new videos. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you do enjoy them, I hope you subscribe, like, comment, whatever down below. You know the drill. See you guys in the next video. I could literally do cartwheels in here if I wanted, but I would probably break my wrist and my neck, so I'm not going to do that. Ow! On the 550 Nighthawk that really hasn't run much on the roads in quite some time, I wasn't really worried. Crap. So now I'm finally down here, right? What am I talking about? So now I'm finally down here, all the insulation and drywall. So I took care of all of that, and because it's difficult to do all this stuff by yourself, and I didn't really know anyone in the area yet who might be willing and able to help me. Also, did I point? I pointed to the shelves before. I'm gonna have to redo that. Well, that's a bummer. Oh no, maybe I went like that. Just killed a bug. So also, stupid mosquito. I hate those things. I added 240 volt plugs around the shop because I was like, hey, if I want to mill, So although this looks a little bit messy, this is definitely an important tool to me, just from the use that I'm going to get out of it, but also sentimentally. This is my father's, what are these called? What are these called? Radial saw, radial arm saw. Really sentimental.